Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Trish Stratus has dedicated her life to health and fitness and has parlayed her success and passion into a recognized lifestyle brand, that brand being Stratosphere. I'm very happy to have Trish here on the show today. She's going to bring a little class, dignity, and respect. She's an awesome young lady that I've known for a long time. Trish, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Trish, when I called you and reached out to you, I said it would be a real plus for this show to dig us out of the ditch that we've created with our own hands to bring us back some class and respectability and hang on to our sponsors. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's a lot of pressure for me, Steve. You're saying that I have to bring all the class and dignity to the show?
Well, just a modicum, maybe, just a little bit.
Well, I do want to, I think maybe, T Plus sounds like a very interesting supplement. And, I think that if people continue to take that, that would be very satisfying. So there, go to onit.com and be satisfied with T Plus. And then that's kind of how I bring class and dignity to the show, by plugging away.
You're hired, and don't forget to slash Steve.
You like it? You like it? Oh, slash Steve. Okay, I got it.
You know what, Trish? How long have we known each other?
Gosh, well, okay. It couldn't have been before 2000 because I debuted in 2000. So I would say we probably, I'm sure we probably crossed paths a few times over the years. But I think we really got to know each other during Tough Enough.
Right. And we've got to hang around a lot, and you have a great sense of humor, and I'm a wacky guy to begin with. And anytime we sit down, it's just kind of an ad-lib type thing, and we just enjoy laughing and giggling and having a good time. And
I like hearing about Steve giggling. That's cute. Actually.
Giggling. I'm trying to almost every episode of the Steve Austin Show, I do a word of the day to try to improve not only my vocabulary but my listeners' vocabularies. I like to offer helpful hints on the show, and sometimes I don't always have that. But yes, I'm trying to work on my vocabulary.
Okay.
Well, Trish, go ahead.
Go ahead. What's the word of the day?
Well, I'm not going to do a word. Okay, hogwash. Today's word of the day is hogwash. Do you know what hogwash is? And no, it's not shampoo for a pig.
That would be a bunch of bullshit.
You're right. It's a bunch of bullshit. Now, technically, in a dictionary, it's classified as nonsense. But bullshit works on this show. Can you use hogwash in a sentence for us, Trish?
Well, I hope this interview goes well and it's not a bunch of hogwash.
Well, I can't say that it's not going to. There's going to be some hogwash involved for sure, because that's what's going to make it fun. I'll use one for you. Last night was a season premiere of Redneck Island. I watched the show all the way through, and when I noticed that my social media, Steve Austin BSR, was not plastered all over the screen, I thought it was complete hogwash. How's that for a shoot, Trish?
Wow, that's a good one. You are good with the hogwash usage, I must say.
Boy, I tell you what, I ain't afraid to call a spade on this show, or on any show for that matter. But you know what?
Dare I say you are the king of hogwash.
The king of hogwash. Here, you heard it right here, folks. It's Steve Austin. Will you be the queen of hogwash with me? That's the $1 million question.
Sir, I am your queen of hogwash.
Oh, God dang, I feel good now. And as a note, I've had a lot of complaints about me breathing too heavy into the microphone. I have deviated septums. My nose is all busted up. So I'm going to try to keep the microphone away from my breathing system while we're talking, Trish, when I ask you questions and you answer, and we're just chit-chatting back and forth and giggling about our hogwash. I want to make sure that your sound and your voice is unmuffled.
Well, thank you. And, we wouldn't want people to hear this back and think, maybe you were being a little creepy. So I think that's a good idea.
If there's one thing I can't stand is a creep on a show. Can't have that. We're not going to have that.
No.
You're too classy, Trish, and I'm too smart. And I'm married for the 4th time, so we're keeping it straight on the up and up. Hey,
all right.
Check it out. Let's talk about some stuff, because as long as I've known you, I was doing my research, reading up on you, and I started delving into your childhood. And you grew up in Richmond Hill, Ontario, correct?
Correct, yes.
Well, tell me, I know that you, as the diva, your wrestling persona, I mean, your wrestling acumen, your style in the ring, how ferocious of a competitor you were. You were very aggressive in the ring, seemingly not afraid of anything. What kind of kid were you growing up? Were you a nerd? Were you top of the class? Were you athletic? What were you?
Well, you've actually named a couple of the traits that I had as a child. I would classify myself as a bit of a nerd, only because I was kind of a science geek. I like to explore. I was the kind of kid who asked for a microscope set for my birthday. So that was that was my background. I really liked science and whatnot, and I was just an athlete. I think that's a lot of people say, how did you get into WWE and find it so easy, and how did you transition so easily? I think just being an athlete. I always played sports. I played competitive soccer growing up, and most importantly, I was a big tomboy, and I would say I'm a tomboy today as well. But I mean, growing up, I had a couple of boy cousins, and I had this, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but as a little girl, I wanted to be a little boy. I wanted to be part of the boys. I wanted to play with the team, play with the guys on the teams. And so that was kind of just me growing up. I was a tomboy, loved sports, loved science. And, but then I think a lot of it translated pretty nicely for me once I got into the ring.
So then, like, report card time comes. What kind of grades are you getting? Are you straight A's, a couple of B's here and there?
No, I'm a nerd alert. There's a nerd alert going on. Yeah, I was pretty much straight A's. I always, as a kid, I wanted to be a doctor and dreamed about becoming a doctor since I was very little. And so kind of everything I did was geared towards, being a keener in school and making sure I got my volunteering in and I played varsity sports. You name the checklist of nerdism, I did it.
Well,
so, yeah.
But then I read you played soccer and field hockey. Were those your two favorite sports? Did you also play volleyball, basketball? What is in the Canadian curriculum for high school athletics?
Well, all of that is in the curriculum. I chose soccer was my number one sport. Played that. I played till I was about 21 years old. Actually, I played rep level soccer for my town, and then when I went to university, I played for my field hockey team there. So really, and I was kind of known as a bit of the goon on the team. So I was kind of rough and tough.
You were a goon?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, my God. My respect for you has grown even more than it was. You, a goon, and a good-looking goon at that? I just can't vision it.
It's kind of like a good little secret weapon, the good-looking goon thing.
Were you in there laying the smack down on your fellow field hockey players?
It's funny because people laugh when I say field hockey, and I know it. Listen,
let's talk field hockey. I'm a redneck. I'm from South Texas. When we're talking about field hockey, I know what you're talking about, but break that down for my listeners in the South. What does field hockey mean?
Okay, well, field hockey, I don't know if maybe this was created, maybe someone's, idea of a joke, because let me describe it. You have a bunch of girls wearing pleated skirts, we're running around on a field. And now the stick we use, if you picture a real hockey stick, you chop it in half. You got this itty-bitty stick with a little curve at the top, kind of like the Iron Sheik's shoe. Now, that, I don't know who thought of that on paper and thought, this is going to be hilarious. We'll get a bunch of girls in skirts running around chasing this little ball. So it kind of looks funny, to be honest. But it's when it came down to it, I played at the varsity level for my university, and it was pretty brutal. There was like, sticks flying and balls and faces. Oh, well, balls and faces.
Balls and faces sounds like my kind of deal. I need to sign up for the field hockey team here in Los Angeles.
Steve, it was great. I enjoyed running around the field on my pleated skirt with balls and faces. What a sport, let me tell you.
Well, hey, let me ask you something. When you were at the university, and this is York University, correct, and you were studying biology and kinesiology, and I read that there was a faculty strike, so that changed your career plans. What happened? Did the school just go belly up and leave you high and dry because you had designs on maybe being a doctor?
Yeah, pretty much. The school recovered. It didn't go belly up. It didn't go bankrupt or go away or anything. But the professors decided to strike, which was kind of an odd thing. So here I was, and I told you I was a bit of a nerd, so I had everything planned. I had I was going to go to school, I was going to graduate, and then I was going to go to med school, and then this was my plan in life, and I was doing the volunteer work, and everything was perfectly set. And then suddenly they went on strike, and it was like, uh-oh. And so as a science student, you kind of had to sort of, the art students went back and just wrote like essays and made up for it. But the science students, everything was hands-on. You had to do your lab work, etc. So there was no opportunity to really just do a quick kind of catch-up and try and get your, finish off everything. But I tell you, it's one of those things where, everything happens for a reason. And one door closes, another one opens. And that's how my whole fitness modeling career started.
And let's talk about that next door opening up, because you were at a gym, and were you working out at the gym? Were you working at the gym when you were approached by some fitness models with Muscle Mag International?
I'm so impressed at your research, first of all. Yes, Steve, that is exactly what happened.
But you were working out. I mean, you were lifting weights. You dug the weight training as well as working there?
So I actually thought it was a smart idea for me to get a job at a gym, because I was, being in that level of sports, playing varsity sports, we started to do weight training, and basically a lot of my training was at that point had been all sports specific. But this was the first time, the coaches were encouraging you to sort of train specifically for the sport and using the weight machines and getting in the gym and actually training that way. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be smart if I got a job and I will be the receptionist, but I'll be able to train for free?
Well, check it out.
That job.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. But you're working there. You're working as a receptionist. You're working out at the gym, and then you're approached by Muscle Mag International. And you end up signing a 2-year contract as a model. Now, had you ever had any plans or designs on even entering the modeling profession?
No, it was one of those things. I'd been approached, at the mall, I'd been, approached to do the Miss Teen Canada pageant and things like that. But to me, when, I had a plan, it was like going to med school. So to me, modeling had nothing to do with my plan. So it was kind of like, oh, thanks for the offer. It's kind of neat, but it has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. So I never really pursued it. And so I guess this time was kind of like one of those, you know what? I'm ready. Like, I'm kind of just sitting around, waiting around anyway. And and then I took advantage of the opportunity. And that was the first time I met Robert Kennedy. Now, he passed away about a year ago.
Yeah,
you might know him,
guy.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he was amazing. He gave me my first opportunity, and basically he said to me, "Okay, I'm going to do a test shoot with you." We did a test shoot. It went really well. And he said, basically my first shoot I'd ever done, professionally. And he said, I'm going to take you on a professional photo shoot, a real photo shoot, which was in South Beach, Miami. And he said, go ahead and eat, sleep, and train, and go ahead and get ready for it. And he gave me a trainer, and that's what I did. I mean, school was out of session, and that's all I did is ate, slept, and trained, got ready for this one opportunity, and that's how I secured my first contract.
Yeah, but let's backtrack a little bit. You're at the gym, you're working there, you're a receptionist. Muscle Mag International comes up to you, offers you a modeling contract for 2 years. So obviously, and I know you and I've seen you, you're hot. And you can go to, you can Google any picture of Trish Stratus and see if she's hot, or go to her website, trishstratus.com. But if you're so hot, I got to ask about your dating habits when you were in high school. Every boy in high school had to have been chasing you. What was dating like for you in the high school years and through the college years?
Well, dating, what happens when you're a nerd in high school? You might be hot. I mean, I don't know, maybe, I guess, I was cute in high school, I would say, sure, but I wasn't interested. I mean, I had a couple boyfriends here and there, I dated here and there, but I was keener. School was number one to me.
But it really was. I mean, so, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you're kind of interested in guys. You went on a few dates, but your school was first and foremost. The grades, the education acumen was what you were focused on. Yep.
And I'm not sure if you know this, but see, I met my husband, my current husband. I met him in high school, actually. And so he was my best friend all of high school. And we basically, he had his girlfriends, I had my boyfriends, and we were just best friends all through high school. And then I don't want to lose any listeners by mentioning this part, by the way.
She's married, folks.
Apparently at the Hall of Fame, when I mentioned my husband, I don't know if you saw that, Steve, but there was a lot of booze from Madison Square Garden. I heard about it.
He was a heel.
Ron was an instant heel. Even Vince called it. So, so I'm going to mention my heel husband at this moment. But I did meet him, and actually knew him when I was younger. He actually went to elementary school with my cousins. So I've known him since I was pretty much about 8 years old or so. Met him in high school. We were really good friends in high school. And then, about 17 years old, we began to date. We became official girlfriend and boyfriend. And, I tell you, like, him and I we transitioned to university, and me knowing that I wanted to pursue med school, he got it. Like, I did my thing, and we were both really focused on, like, he wanted to do his thing, kind of, become your own entity before we became a couple, so to speak. And so we both pursued both of our career paths really, pretty headstrong. And then, eventually the wrestling came and flipped my world upside down. And he was with me through all that. And then, we got married 2 weeks after I retired. So I retired in 2006, and 2 weeks later we got married and started that chapter. And we're still happily married today.
But I think part of what you said was very important there. Two youngsters fall in love, and you were both very passionate about pursuing separate endeavors. And so many times when young people hook up today, it's all about, doing every single thing together. And it's okay to have, different interests and pursue things separately. You can still be a unit, and I think that makes the unit stronger when both individuals have something that they believe in and are aspiring to be, and don't put all your eggs in one basket and become codependent. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. 100%. And I say that all the time. I think that's what has kept us together for so long. I mean, I can't tell you how many girlfriends I have where, if the boys want to play Call of Duty online, or they want to go out to Vegas or do something like that, and the girl's like, well, what am I going to do? And that's not fair. And I'm like, cool, I'll do my thing over here. It's like, you got to have that. You got to have your own interests, have your own, it's one life, but you got to have your own life and be separate entities first and foremost. And that just made us, he appreciated what I was pursuing. I appreciated what he was pursuing. And we just supported each other, through the way. Listen, for med school, I was that's a long career to become a doctor. So he was cool supporting me, and I kept long hours at the library and doing my thing at school, and he was like, cool, whatever you got to do, kind of thing. And then that's why I think it transitioned so well, like, into wrestling. We were such good friends, and he got it. The first and foremost, we were like crazy wrestling fans too. So, before we used to go to wrestling events, and, so that was some sort of a passion that we both had. So going into the WWE, he just got it. He understood what the wrestling world was about, and what it was going to take for me to be successful in that world.
So when you were growing up, you were a wrestling fan from the get-go, and Ron was as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was, yeah. We had Maple Leaf Gardens here in Toronto, so it was, I don't know, there's something about the Toronto landscape. It's just a real big part of the Toronto culture here, being wrestling fans, and obviously with the big, promotions that were here back in the day. So it's always had a big presence here, and yeah, we certainly grew up watching it and going to Maple Leaf Gardens, and it was just part of our youth. And I guess that's how I grew up. I grew up with the cousins I mentioned earlier. Ron was friends with those guys, so that's how I grew up. Watching wrestling, playing wrestling, and going to wrestling and playing sports. So that was Tomboy Trish.
Okay, so Tomboy Trish, and you're a big wrestling fan, and we're about to get into you getting into the business before you got into the WWE. How did that all happen? I read that you hooked up with a couple of guys who were doing a Toronto sports radio show called Live Audio Wrestling, and then it was, I guess you were noticed by WWE, and then they offered you a contract and then sent you to a training school. Break that down for me and tell me how that went down.
Okay, well, let's just be clear when I say hooked up with a couple guys.
Well, I digress. Sorry about that, Trish.
When you're talking to a female, you got to shift the verbiage a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I did not hook up with guys in order to get into WWE. Let's just state that first and foremost.
Yes, okay. Got duly noted. My bad. My faux pas.
Duly noted. That's a bunch of hogwash.
Hogwash Central here on the Steve Austin Show.
We need like a bell to go off. Mo, can you put a bell whenever we say hogwash? That would be cool. And maybe some winners, we could do a prize, something. I think that would be good.
Yeah, let me see what I can do here.
Mo, grab a hogwash bell. Put that next on the things to do list. All right, so
but don't get a cowbell though, because that would not work.
You come on as the third host of Live Audio Wrestling with Big Daddy Donnie and Jeff Merrick. How did you meet these two individuals and get into the talking about wrestling?
Well, I had sort of there's a turning point in my career where last week we spoke, I was doing the fitness modeling, and after the contract, it went really well. I secured a number of covers really quickly, and I was kind of, the fitness modeling world was a new industry, so Bob Kennedy put me on the cover and basically said, what Vince does, basically. This is Trish Stratus. She's the newest and hottest fitness model, and suddenly the world believed it, so it worked for me. So of course, I had to carry that ball, though. But I was on the cover of, Muscle Mag magazine a number of times. And so I would go on a show. It was called TSN's Off the Record. And what it was a bunch of sports athletes would come on the show and discuss current events in sports, etc. So I was kind of the popular guest on the show as like a chick because, oh wow, a chick knows sports. So I was on, as the go-to chick, right, for that segment. And they also knew that I was secretly a wrestling fan. So there was an event. And you were there, Steve, because I wore a Stone Cold Steve Austin T-shirt that night. But there was an evening where WWE was announcing that they would be prime time on TSN. So they had and I don't know if you recall, but Carl DeMarco, you remember Carl DeMarco from WWE Canada, right? So he was the president of WWE Canada, and he, whenever there was an event in Toronto, no matter what it was, he blew it up. It was huge. There was press conferences, and all the press had it. It was all over the newspapers, right? So because TSN was announcing that WWE would be part of their primetime programming, they had in front of the Sky Dome a live show where they had us as a panel, and I was one of the guests on the panel in front of a live wrestling crowd. Then that evening, I got to go to the show. So I was super excited. I mean, to be on the show was cool because there were fans there and they were hollering my name, and I was kind of tickled by that. I thought that's kind of cool. There was a moment where they had said, "Who's the hottest chick in wrestling?" And I said, Sable. That's who I said at the time. Yeah. And then the fans were saying, "Trish, you are." And I just, if you watch the footage, I'm completely like, they said me. So anyway, that night they're like, "Oh, we'll get you tickets." So I go to the show that night. And I'm wearing my Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was a Hell Yeah T-shirt, actually. Good taste. And I was, just supporting, And fans were coming up to me and saying, "Hey, when are you starting? I hear you're going to start wrestling soon." And I was like, "What?" And for some reason, after appearing on that show, there was an internet rumor that said Trish Stratus was spotted by Vince McMahon and expect her debut soon. So, of course, that was a bunch of hogwash. Right. So it was not true at all. And then, this is how the law happened for me, the radio show. They were like, they got in touch with me and they thought, "Oh, wow, it's so cool. WWE's got in touch with you. When are you starting? We'd love to break the story if you want to come on and talk about it." And I said, well, I've not been called by WWE. They have not contacted me. I have no idea where that rumor started, but I'd love to come on this wrestling show and talk about it. So I went on the show. And it was, a hit. Like, sometimes you mesh with people's personalities. Yeah. It went really well. And I kind of said to them, I'm like, well, they're like, "Do you want to, maybe come every, couple weeks, join us on air?" I said, "Can I come every week?" This is the Keener talking. "Can I come every week and talk about wrestling? That'd be awesome." So, I mean, this is like, this is like wrestling fans. Like, you get to go on air, you talk about wrestling. This show was on at like 1 a.m, but we didn't care. We thought it was super cool. And the show's it's on right now, and it does really well. It's a really good show still. So that's kind of how my, everything started. And it was during that time I was, I kind of like, well, there was so much hype about me possibly going to WWE, which was completely hogwash at the time. And what I did is I thought, well, let me prepare the best possible package. And I went out and I found the gym that Edge trained out of in Toronto, and I got myself trained. So I started training. And then finally, when they did call, was when I had some training under my background and was able to kind of, have my first meeting.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Most workouts are not that exciting, but there really is nothing more exciting and engaging than learning boxing and kickboxing. And that's exactly why people are saying that Fight Camp is the only workout they've stuck with. Fight Camp provides boxing and kickboxing workouts and tutorials that keep you engaged, learning, excited, and motivated, a program that's never boring and always challenging. Fight Camp brings the boxing gym to your living room with a tech twist. They provide all the gear, top trainers, and a new technology that tracks your punches, everything you need to get great workouts in. Basically, Fight Camp brings the boxing and kickboxing gym to you with fight-hardened trainers that combine cardio and conditioning in a full-body workout. Like any martial art, Fight Camp offers a lifelong journey of learning and improving. The Fight Camp app comes with over 600 workouts and tutorials for beginners, intermediate, and advanced boxers and kickboxers. And they are releasing 12 new workouts every week. Fight Camp uses new tech that tracks each punch you throw to measure speed, volume, and output. And you can compete on a leaderboard with people all around the U.S. And now, with a recently released Versus mode, you can challenge anyone to a workout, then go head-to-head and see who wins. This brings out the competitive nature in everyone, and it makes you work out so much harder without you even realizing it. Fight Camp is the perfect gift the entire family can enjoy and get competitive on. Fight Camp offers flexible financing for as low as 0% APR and $0 down. And now, as a limited-time holiday offer, get free shipping and a gift valued up to $109 with every Fight Camp package. Just go to joinfightcamp.com/Austin. That's right. Get free shipping and a gift valued up to $109 with your purchase. Bring an authentic boxing and kickboxing gym into your home with Fight Camp. To get your free gift, just go to joinfightcamp.com/Austin. joinfightcamp.com/Austin.
Welcome to the Steve Austin Show.
Oh, hell yeah. We're coming back. I'm talking to Trish Stratus, 7-time women's WWE champion. You can follow Trish on Twitter at TrishStratus.com, or you can check out our website, TrishStratus.com. Before I left the break, I started talking to Trish about her training, and I am so interested in talking to people about how they get started in the business of professional wrestling. I had Lance Storm on the show a couple of weeks back, and now Lance runs a hell of a Storm Wrestling Academy up there in Calgary. So, Trish, I've got to ask you, my first question, you know, watching wrestling and appreciating it and loving it are one thing, but when you get in that ring and start bumping around, it's kind of a come to Jesus meeting. How did you feel when you first started taking bumps in your training?
Well, yes, it was a bit of a come to Jesus moment for sure. But, you know, I'll be honest, like I talk about this tomboy thing, but when I walked into the training facility for the first time, and that was with my trainer, Ron Hutchison, it was a place called Sully's Gym. And he said, well, just so you know, it's going to be all guys, though. You're going to be training with guys. Are you okay with that? And I was like, totally, it's cool. And I mean, it was all guys, and of course they all tried to take it easy on me, but I insisted that they didn't. And but yeah, I mean, you definitely have that feeling. But like I said, growing up as a tomboy, I would think there's something about, and I think something about watching wrestling. You know, when you're a kid, how many body slams did you throw before you actually learned to throw one properly? You know,
right.
So, I mean, I think I went into the ring kind of like understanding the psychology of wrestling and understanding what to expect, and I didn't think it'd be an easy ride for sure. So I think going in there, like, knowing this is not going to be easy definitely helped. And, I mean, yeah, I just I picked up on it pretty quickly. I think my athletic background obviously helped, and great trainers. And I think when the guys, you know, got over me being a girl, if that makes sense, it was cool. I mean, they treated me like a guy, and, I mean, it was just I was taking the bumps like the guys did, and we were having matches, and it went really good. And my training went, you know, right up until it was funny. We were sort of, it was a neat conversation because I had actually, I had met Michael Hayes at I was doing a television show, and I met Michael Hayes, and he said, you know, he goes, "You're the Trish Stratus, you're the fitness model that I've been hearing about you." But of course, at that point, I hadn't talked to anybody. So he had said, "Send your stuff to you know, WWE, and I'm gonna make sure it lands in the right place." So I sent my stuff, and I had talked to Terry Taylor at one point, and you remember he was sort of heading up the talent relations at the time. Back in the day, and he said, yeah, like, it looks good, I'll be in touch with you. And I didn't hear anything for like months and months and months. And so it was during that time I was wrestling, and I was like, did you get the call? Did you get a call? Any word? And I was like, no, no one's called me, you know. And what had happened was, do you remember at that point where there was all these, you know, WCW people went over to WWE people went off to WCW at the
big
time.
migration.
Taylor, I mean, a bunch of them. Yeah. So, you know, that was like, 99, I guess. So everyone had gone over there. But what Terry told me he did, he said, I got to let you know, he goes, I took he finally got in touch with me. He said, I'm, you know, really sorry about the delay. It's been months, I know. But he goes, there's just all this stuff happening. And basically, you know, you'll hear it soon, but there's going to be a bit of a change happening. He said, but I want you to know I'm leaving WWE. I was WWF at the time. And he said, but I left your document on Jim Ross's desk. And I said, if you don't want her, let me know, because we'll take her. So that was what had been happening in the background while I was learning to train and wrestle. And then that's when Jim Ross finally gave me a call, and I flew to Connecticut. And I know JR was definitely happy to hear that I had some training going, because he kind of, you know, he said, well, you know, the little lady, let me tell you, he goes, it's not an easy sport for a female. You know, it could be physical at times. And I told him about my background in the sports, and I told him, well, I've actually been training for about 6 months now. And so I think that, you know, gave me a little check mark on my list there. And yeah, that was how it all
let's talk about Jim Ross a little bit, because, you know, when you're a newcomer in the business, and certainly green as grass, as we all are at some time, and you were, and here you know, have Jim Ross, and you being a wrestling fan, know of his credentials and his, you know, announcing and just his foresight and his hindsight and his experience. When he gives you the little lady routine and it's going to be tough and all that, what are you thinking? Are you intimidating? Are you motivated just more because you know it's going to be challenging? What was your feeling in talking with him? Because was he trying to just, hey, this is a heads up, or was he trying to kind of put you off a little bit?
I think probably testing me to see what my reaction would be, you know.
Right.
And honestly, to be honest, I appreciate what a lot of guys did for me. I mean, everyone from Carl DeMarco to Jim Ross, everyone is very straight up about it. Like, this is not an easy life. And just so you know, it's not going to be, not only is it physically, it is tough, right? But on top of that, if this happens and you go on the road, you can expect this. And it was like, you know, it really laid it out for me. And I think that helped me to go, yeah, you know what? I'm definitely, this is what I want to do. I'm willing to sacrifice all that in order to pursue this. And I mean, I think that was great that he was upfront for me, because it helped me prepare my mind to go into the business.
Well, you know, you fed right into my next question. I was wanting to ask you about, you know, you didn't come from the Bush Leagues. You really came straight out of wrestling school into the World Wrestling Federation. This is the number one promotion in the world. This is the big leagues. This is where everybody who's in the business wants to go. This is your first gig. So you walk in the doors. You know, you're a beautiful young lady. You're in the locker room. You know, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? I mean, you're looking around and you're already at the big time. What did this do for you inside your head?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, I knew that I was blessed with this opportunity, and I knew that, you know, the route that I had gotten was, I mean, basically the easy route. Like, I know that I had skipped to the front of the line on this one, you know. And to see, this is probably what didn't make my entrance that easy was, I guess they started at this point now starting to coin the term divas. Right. So they, you know, were excited. They had this fitness model who had, I think at that point, I probably had maybe, you know, 10 covers or something that I'd done. So they knew me from my bikini world, from my modeling world, and that was kind of like, this is what she does, right? So they were excited to invite me to their first photo shoot. So while they were sorting out the details with, you know, I live in Canada, so obviously there was some visa things I had to sort out, and it was kind of like, I mean, I had signed my contract in '99, so I signed my contract and it was kind of like, okay, sit at home and we'll let you know when, you know, when it's time to bring you up. And so they're sorting out the visa conflict. In the meantime, they called me and said, oh, well, actually, you don't have to go to the U.S., but we can fly you to Dominican Republic, and we're going to have our first diva shoot. So you'll meet all the girls there. It'll be great. And on paper, it sounds nice. You'll meet all the girls, and it'll be nice. You guys can bond, and you'll, you know, eventually be working together. But, you know.
Come on, like, Trish. You couldn't have bonded. The girls have their claws out in this business and in general. Anyway, yes, no, everybody wants to get along in the business, but you know, it's kick, scratch, and claw to the top. Nice to the face is also, when you turn around, you might get a knife in your back. That had to be competitive as hell and nerve-wracking.
Oh, completely. I mean, you know, as nice as it sounded, it's going to be great for you guys to bond. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go in and be like, who's this chick? You know? So, to be honest, it was a little, you know, hi, meeting you for the first time. I'm the new chick, and I'm going to be shooting for one of your diva covers already. Jumped at the front of the line or what? Like, not, you know, it wasn't good, and I tried to be as humble as possible. And I was in awe, too, because, of course, we're watching wrestling. I've been watching Ivory. I've been watching Tori. I've been watching all these girls. When I say Tori, I mean Tori Puck, you know, and is a cat. And, you know, just seeing all these girls, it was like, I mean, I was in awe. I was like, wow. And I was, you know, definitely trying to be as humble as possible, and you know, excuse me for the circumstances that I got here under. You know, I appreciate that it's weird. I'm very lucky, but I mean, it turned out well. I mean, everything was great. You know, the girls were great. They welcomed me. Actually, who knows? I mean, to my face, everyone was great. I'm sure they're like, where is this? I mean, you know, they knew that once we got back to, you know, the real world or into the WWE world, you know, she might be finding Danny on the beach. And to be honest, I think they appreciated that I came from the modeling background, so at least I was here doing my thing, which I knew how to do. So that was kind of cool. And I know Ivory kind of was like, she's an expert. Look at her pointing the toes and all that cute stuff. So it worked out. And you know, it was a good way to kind of meet some of the girls and really get closer to them. And I think they did appreciate the fact that I, you know, didn't just show up like, hey, I'm here to do this bikini shoot with you guys. They knew that I was like, yeah, cool, we're doing this bikini shoot. But, you know, I was also like, came with a bunch of bruises as well, because I was like, they're like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's because I'm training. So they appreciated the fact that I was actually training back in Toronto too. I wasn't this girl who was just coming to wear a bikini.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
You own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Like you said, you were humble, and you'd been training. It wasn't like you were just some prima donna who came off the catwalk and you saw wrestling and knew you could be a big star. You had an appreciation of it from the get-go. You were a fan, and here you were. And so you get past this photo shoot, and all of a sudden you're entrenched, and it's warfare. And now it turns into life on the road, and life on the road in the business of pro wrestling. And that's what I still call it, Trish. I know these days it's sports entertainment, but when I talk about it, it's pro wrestling. So you're out on the road, and being on the road is tough enough. How is it being a female in the business around a male-dominated industry? And certainly, to your point, there's more divas even now than there was back then, but it's kind of a male-dominated industry. And so you're out there. How tough is it for a female?
Oh, it's really tough. I mean, you're trying to, you want to stand out from the crowd. You want to show that you're one of the boys, but yet, and I think like one thing that I think people found by getting to know me, that I was kind of one of the boys. And so I wasn't, just a girly girl kind of there to, like you said, just kind of go and walk the catwalk and do the bikini stuff. And, they appreciated I was there to wrestle. And that was what my main thing was when I entered the business, was like, I want to become a wrestler. So, but no, it was hard. I mean, I was 24 years old. I couldn't even rent a car at the time. So I was, hopping rides and trying to figure things out. And I remember, Ivory said to me, the first thing you need is get a big map book, and just a coiled map book, and that's what you need. I mean, there was no, I look now, there was no check your iPhone on how to get there, GPS, none of that business, obviously.
It was a different day and age. It was pay phones, and you didn't just Google something or look something up on your iPhone. You stopped and asked directions. Most of the guys wouldn't do that, and they'd drive around for hours and hours being lost rather than buy a damn map, but it was a different day and age.
See, the Keener I bought the map. See that?
Well, that's the brainiac in you, the nerd part of it. Hey, so let's talk about it. You're hanging around with some pretty salty veterans. I mean, Ivy has been around, and she was a great in-ring performer and a really nice young lady, and up to speed on life, because she'd been there, done that for a pretty good while. So with you using your nerdisms or your smarts coming from your educational background, you kind of pick things up very quickly. You said you kind of breezed through training. So how was your grasp on psychology in the ring? I notice anytime I read anything about you, I know you had a pretty good relationship with Fit Finlay, as he worked a lot with the divas and is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. How instrumental was he in your career? And again, it's kind of a two-pronged question. How was your relationship working with Fit, and how quickly did you pick up the psychological aspects of the business?
I think with the psychological side of things, and I truly believe this to this day, and we saw it in Tough Enough, Steve, that we saw this. It was like either you got it and you get it, or you don't, period. I mean, we can teach you and we can guide you along, but you have to be able to watch a match and be able to dissect it and understand what story is being told here, and understand the psychology behind it. And that's just something that's part of your your mindset. You just get it or you don't, or you think it's a bunch of steps that you're going to try and pull off in order to make this move. So I think I certainly just had it in me, and I think work with the work I did at Sully's gym, he was really great about really focusing on the psychology side of things. He wanted us to understand why these matches were being put like this, and he'd challenge us, okay, put the match together, and he'd want to know why, explain this to me, and he would make us actually, before we told the story physically, tell me the story, tell me what you're going for, encompass the story for me. So he was really, Ron Hutchison was great that way. He really, I think that helped to bring it out, because I think I knew it inside by watching from so many years and appreciating the storytelling side of things, wrestling from so many years, and then Ron bringing that out of me during my training before I got in. And then honestly, I was just blessed to be, once I started working with Fit, he and he is honestly, I would say, one of my best friends in wrestling for sure. I mean, we were like frickin' frack. We had the same thought process, and people would laugh. We had we'd go, we should do that, and we'd say the same move at the same time, and he appreciated my enthusiasm in the beginning. It was just like, I want to try this, and I want to do this, and and you mentioned Lance earlier. I mean, Lance was really instrumental in my development as well. Every week we would get in the ring every single day. That we were on the road, from the house shows right to the Raw events. We were in the ring, and Lance was awesome about getting in the ring with me, and Fit would get us to do stuff. and it was great. I used to say, I was watching Mortal Kombat, and I saw Sonya do this move, and, and we kind of, it's not going to work, Trish, but we can make it work like this. And that's kind of how Stratosphere actually was created, that first move in the corner that I do. But, so like having people like Lance and Fit, in my circle, helped me tremendously. And just being able to really understand it and coming from reading Fit's mind and getting to just feed off of him just helped me tremendously.
Lance is a straight shooter, and Fit is a no bullshit guy. So how were they in dealing with you? They just tell you like it was? I mean, basically like you're a guy? Were they trying to sugarcoat things? Or they just, giving you the straight up mechanics? Because one of the things about Fit's style in the ring, he had a real mean streak. He was a real ring general. He was just outstanding in execution. So I can only imagine that in training or in instruction, he's just very efficient and straightforward, and it's easy to soak up. Whereas if you might be a little bit towards a prima donna state, might not appreciate what he's telling you or absorb what he's telling you.
Yeah, and I think that was sort of his thing where he was going to be fit. Fit was going to be fit, and if you could handle Fit, then you're in his books kind of thing, He was very straight up with me, and his number one line to all the girls was, "Hey, this ain't ballet,"
Right.
And of course that became my favorite line afterwards, to these girls who came in afterwards and stuff. But it just, he treated me like he would treat a guy in the ring, and that's what that's even from Sully's gym. That's what I wanted, and I think when he saw that I was accepted that and responded well to that, then I won his heart that way.
Trish, when I watched you, when you worked heel or babyface, you were outstanding at both. You really, whether it's your charisma, your looks, your presence, from the babyface standpoint, or to my fans who have just started listening to the show, portraying a good guy or good girl, as it is, versus a heel. I loved you as a heel. It looked like you were having a blast as a heel, and heels always have to have fun, but they seem to have fun doing bad things. Which did you prefer?
Oh, yeah, being a heel, for sure. I mean, babyface, I was really lucky the way that I think my career path went. I got to explore being a babyface because, I was the underdog, right? I was this girl who I think this chick can wrestle. She's the newer girl. We haven't really seen her in the ring, but I hear she's got a wrestling background. And I was lucky to be able to develop in front of the audience's eyes. Like, they saw me trip and fall. They saw me get up and try again. The classic underdog story. And so they were with me that whole way, which is why I feel I have this bond with the audience that they kind of, okay, come on, she can do that. And like, oh, she's doing better. And they could see that I was like, I need to get better at this. I got to get better. And they saw that drive I've had every week. So I think, being a babyface under those terms, it really worked for me. And it made me, become who I was, let me reach that point, as a new person in the ring, you have to get comfortable. I mean, I always say to people, you can learn to wrestle all day long, but it's a whole another game once you enter the WWE ring and try to wrestle and have a sports entertainment match, so to speak, right? So you're learning not only like, I have moves, but now you need to learn to communicate with the audience and learn to translate what these moves mean, etc. So, I was like, to be a babyface for all those years in the beginning was perfect once I got into the ring. And then, even becoming heel, that was, it was a fluke. It was literally like a last minute call by Vince. We were doing the storyline with Jericho and I and Christian. It was like that love triangle we were doing.
Remember?
And, I was supposed to, the closure of the storyline was supposed to be, like Christian was coming between me and Jericho, and the closure of the storyline was like Trish, Stratus, and Jericho were finally going to get together at WrestleMania, and actually we had plans to go on and become this quirky babyface couple that really, there hadn't really been a duo like us, kind of like we thought we'd be kind of quirky, and there really wasn't a duo like that. So we thought that'd be a lot of fun, and we were really looking forward to it. We were calling ourselves Trishtofer, and, it was going to be some good stuff. And last minute, of course, Vince goes, got an idea. Like I'm talking about it right now.
The old Vince, I got an idea story. Go ahead, tell me that idea real quick. What happened?
Yeah, so right there and then and there, like instead of me leaving with Jericho, it was like, how about you slap the piss out of Jericho's mouth and then you leave with Christian and then you kiss him at the stage. And I was like, oh, well, that's different.
When Vince drops one of those ideas on you and it sounds wonderful on one hand, and on the other hand, you think, God dang, what if it doesn't work and it's just a drizzling shits? But you're so intrigued by it, and the guy is so smart, and you've got to try it, and you can feasibly shoot it down depending on your power level with your tenure in the company. But it's very tempting, and Vince is such a salesman, and he's a third-generation promoter, and he operates with his brain and his guts, and when he feels something, he's usually right. So you take this leap of faith, and then everything just went gangbusters for you from the heel run?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right, because, boy, there was that. I was kind of fighting it a bit. I was like, I don't know. I was like, but fans want this, Vince. Fans want Chris Jericho and Trish Stratus to be together. And we both tried to kind of, and then you just knew. He has got the look in his eyes. You're like, no, there's no change in his mind. And then you kind of have to do the thing that you go to Vince, you know what? Trust. Just trust. And, boy, he was right on that one, man. So that's when I turned heel, and I remember there was a big shock at WrestleMania 20, and people had no idea. That was like nothing like a good heel turn where no one expects it, and it was just, wow. I mean, I flourished. I got to just do a whole different side of things, and I remember my first promo, I was like, wow, I can be facetious out loud now. Excellent, and I loved it. I was such the best part of my career for sure. I enjoyed it a lot, yeah. And to be honest, if I went back and Vince said, all right, you got to come back, what do you want to be, heel or babyface? I would 100% go back heel.
I'm the same way. I made my strike as a babyface, but I loved working heel. But before I go to a break and before we move into Stratosphere Yoga and what you're doing on the here and now, and maybe even talk a little bit of Tough Enough, who was your favorite opponent?
My favorite opponent, gosh, it's hard to list them because everyone kind of had like a different.
Just give me three.
We're kind of just quickly say it.
Yeah.
All right, let's say I'm going to say Amy and I had I'm going to say we had the Rock Austin-esque chemistry, if I dare say.
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Amy was probably, we had it from the beginning. We came in at the very same time. We kind of grew, we grew like maybe just like a relationship. She did her thing while I did my thing together separately. But then when we came together, it was beautiful. So I think, her and I have that chemistry. But, I can't deny, having the great matches I had with, I would say, Victoria and Jazz. To me, those girls like that, those matches that I had with those guys, they were wonderful and generous with me. And I mean, Jazz, I learned a tremendous amount from her. She's just
those were great athletic wrestling matches done by women. Great athletic wrestling matches. That wasn't fluff. That was work. And I enjoyed watching those matches. And with your career, you had a very physical style in the ring. You weren't afraid of anything. From an injury standpoint, how are you feeling now?
Oh, amazing. Yes, I have missing knuckles and broken nose a few times and ankles both busted and back and all kinds of stuff. But so that's actually was part of my retirement. But since I found yoga, and how long I'll babble about yoga. So you got.
I know, and we're going to babble about yoga after the breaks. But you left after 7 years in the business. Any regrets about leaving as soon as you did?
No, I was, I was ready. I was definitely ready at that point. I had done exactly what I wanted to do. And when I say exactly, I don't, obviously it's a constantly evolving industry and everything it's a landscape that can constantly change. But at that point I had worked every woman that was a worker in the company at the time or was planning to. Mickey James had just come in. I was very glad that she was the new girl. I got to work with her. And so I got to work with everybody I wanted to work with. I had done the heel thing. I did the babyface thing. And I had a nice, good, robust career, I'd like to say. And then I was just ready. I was just, and injuries were starting to add up. It was like I had dislocated my shoulder one time, and it was an injury that I was like, I can't throw my flippers like I need, and you would have that nagging injury that never went away. And, it was time. I just knew it was like, it's time to move on.
It's time to move on. But did you have any withdrawals when you left the business? Did you miss it?
Well, I really didn't. And
really?
That's why I always go back and I say I knew I made the right decision because I didn't miss it. I watched it and it was cool. I mean, I got to go back and I was watching wrestling as a fan again. I got to sit back on Monday nights and enjoy it now, which was nice. Hadn't done that in a few years. And then I just was a great opportunity because I did a couple TV shows when I retired, and it was, I had some, I kept busy. To be honest, if I retired and went home and sat on my ass, it would kind of be like, this is boring. I should.
Well, yeah, because you're young, you have other goals in life that you want to accomplish. But last question before we go to the break. How hard or how did it feel for you to return to what I call a civilian life? You get in that habit of packing your bag, you're on the road, you're home for 2 days, you're back out, you're just living on the go. How hard was it to return to just a regular life, or as regular as it could be with your schedule?
Yeah, it was hard because you're used to this pace. So you're used to this kind of frenetic pace. And so all of a sudden you have to, kind of calm down a little bit. And it's funny because I kept saying, I'm retiring because I just want to, and I needed a breather. I mean, I took a good couple months off, and I was able to just kind of chill. And I was like, oh, this is nice. On the weekends, I can go to a barbecue with my families. And it was nice at first. But yeah, I got a little restless. But thankfully, actually, the very first, I think it was maybe only 2 months later, I got an offer to do Armed and Famous. My cop show.
Right.
So I got to do that show, and so I got, kind of hit the road again. I hit the road, moved down to Muncie, Indiana, trained to become a police officer, and then was fighting crime for a few months. So I guess that took care of the any boredom that might have set in.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Support for this podcast comes from Pluto TV. Need an escape? Drop into Pluto TV for a world of free TV. Stream hundreds of channels and thousands of movies and shows, all for free. Yeah, free. No subscriptions, no fees. Imagine 24/7 channels of Narcos, CSI, Star Trek, Survivor, and everything else from hit movies to binge-worthy TV shows. The latest news, live sports, comedy, and more. What are you waiting for? Download the free Pluto TV app for Android, iPhone, Roku, and Fire TV and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free. And coming back in, I've been talking to Trish Stratus, lovely young lady I've known for a long time who made an indelible mark in her career as a professional wrestler. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. Trish retired and moved on to bigger and better things. But before we talk about those bigger and better things, I want to talk about Tough Enough. You want to talk about Tough Enough, Trish?
I do. I think Tough Enough was a blast, wasn't it?
Well, what do we say about Tough Enough? First of all, Tough Enough was a reality show on the USA Network where I was the host of the show, and I had 3 trainers working the show. Trish Stratus, Big Bill DeMott, Trish Stratus, Big Bill DeMott, and 5-time world champion Booker T. It was a place in Simi Valley, California, where professional wrestling hopefuls will go and be trained by 3 of the greatest professional wrestlers in the history of the ring, hosted by myself, and a chance at stardom and a chance at a 1-year contract with WWE. The show was a massive success, and it was never renewed or picked up for a second season. What else can I say, Trish? I had a blast working with you. We got to hang out and laugh all day.
Yeah, we giggled. We giggled like schoolgirls.
We giggled. The fact that USA didn't pick that show up was hogwash.
There you go. Really, it's really mind-boggling what happened. I mean, it was so successful. Fans loved it. We loved it. We were all geared up. We were like this. We became this family. Couldn't wait to see each other. Like, okay, go back home, and we'll see you next season. And you bonded with the crew, and everything was hunky-dory. And then no call.
Well, it was disappointing. The complex we were on, it was about a 150-acre place. I think it's for sale on the internet for about $75 million. It was for sale for $150 million. I thought about buying it, but then quickly decided I was about $149 million too short. It was just a wonderful compound, and it was the perfect setup for Tough Enough. We each had our own little house to stay in. It was all private. Yep. The setup was perfect. The contestants were fantastic. The trainers were fantastic. And from day one, as I've always said, Trish, as you and I know each other, but we've never been best friends. We haven't hung around that much together. Same with Bill DeMott and Booker T. I've wrestled Booker T 100 times, but all of a sudden you put us on this one show, and we'd come into my office and talk, and there was just chemistry there, and we all got along like gangbusters. And that's one of the things that I love and miss about the show.
Yeah. Oh, and it's funny because I think even fans, watching us and knowing, hey, I know these guys all from wrestling, but never seen us all together. And I think that was a really cool part. Was the office scene was always the best. It was, having the 4 of us in there and seeing us kind of collaborate, and that was definitely cool. And yeah, I mean, it was neat. It was so sad that it didn't work out. I mean, it was a great show, and mind you, I don't know if the success of our winner, that didn't work out for him necessarily, did it?
No,
exactly.
Not so much. I think he had some. I think he had some issues. There was a test he failed or whatever. I know that Big Andy's over in Puerto Rico now plying his trade. I know young Luke, who kind of finished in second place, is training people in Maine, and he's doing very well for himself. AJ's still beating around. I follow him on Twitter. As Martin, who had the ankle problem, who had a real good chance of winning. He's still on the Indy circuit. I know Evilise is still out there. I still think that young lady has a lot of potential. What were your thoughts on her?
Oh, I agree. I think she's awesome. I mean, I'm surprised. I think WWE picked her up for a bit, and then I don't know what happened. It's one of those things like sometimes WWE does these things and you scratch your head. So it's one of those moments once again where you're like, really? But she has, you let a good one go.
I scratched my head so much I became bald. Jesus Christ. You talk about dropping a ball, and that's what happened. I scratched my head a lot. You ought to see my ass. Just kidding. Hey, you know what? I just wanted to cover Tough Enough a little bit. I want to have you back on this show, and we can talk about what I'd love to do is get Booker T and Bill DeMott on here, and we can have a little bit of a reunion and hash everything out over an hour. But I want to talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk to you about what you have going on. And let's talk about Stratosphere Yoga. You started this brand. It's I've read that it's sweeping all across Canada. I guess you're going to make headways into the United States of America as well. But how did all this come about? Was this your game plan and your vision from way back, or something that you thought of once you left the business of professional wrestling?
Well, it was pretty organic actually, because I discovered. Well, I talk about the injuries, of course, in wrestling, but one of the biggest injuries I had that put my career on the shelf was the herniated disc in my back, which was, the doctor said go and have surgery and come back, and I'd heard about all the back surgeries that everyone else had, and I just thought, well, gosh, if I could not do the surgery, that'd be great, and that's how I found yoga. So I stumbled into yoga, and that's what totally reversed the damage that I had. I had an L4-5, the disc there. And yoga just, I don't know, it transformed my life. I mean, it was something that and it's funny because I get a little preachy when I talk about it, but it just completely, it changed my life. I did it, it recovered, helped me recover, get back in the ring. I was a better athlete than I was before, better recovery time. I was more agile. I was doing moves like, I don't know if you've seen my little Matrix move, or I was doing these moves that my body was so agile. And,
the Matrix move, I love it.
Yeah, thank you. So it was one of these things that just, it helped me be a better performer eventually when I went back. And so when I retired, I just, I didn't really know exactly where I wanted to land. Like I said, I kind of left there thinking I just wanted to kind of stop and smell the roses for a little bit. But what part of smelling the roses was, delving into my yoga practice. And I traveled all over the world. I practiced at different studios and different disciplines. I got certified myself, so I could and I wasn't so much looking to be a teacher per se when I got certified. I just wanted to really, that's the keener in me, but I wanted to understand the practice and really, kind of break it down. And so I broke down the practice, learned it, got it. And then 2008 was, I was practicing every day, and I was going downtown. I'm in the suburbs just outside of Toronto, and I was traveling downtown, and it was taking me 2 hours just to go do a practice. But, I was retired. It was fine. That's what I did. I just did yoga all day. And then I just kind of had an epiphany one day. I said, wow, you know what? There's nothing like this north of Toronto. And at this point, it was kind of a new thing. This yoga thing was starting to catch on. And so my husband is a developer. And so we decided, you know what, we'll build this beautiful studio. And something that I got from the road was, having the ability to go into a different style. Like, if I needed to tackle my jet lag, I would take a certain style. And if I needed to work on developing the yoga booty, I would take a different style. So my vision was to create this place. It's a 5,200 square foot complex that has, a nice lounge so people could have a nice common place to get together, but also has 3 different studios. So you could have the hot yoga, which everybody knows about, and then all these different styles. So I could offer something to everyone. So, and like when I said it was organic, I knew I was creating this brand. Obviously, branding was something that I always did, even back in the WWE. I mean, if you look back, it's funny, I look back, I'm like, look at me with my little logos, my patches, and I was really about branding. My 100% satisfaction guaranteed was something that I started back with my fitness days, something I kind of just brought with me into the WWE and had that trademark, etc. So branding was something that was very important for me from the beginning. And so I started the Stratus brand, and it's got a little bubble saying yoga. And I knew that one day there'd be other things inside the bubble. So the studio was open in 2008. And then when I say it was organic, I mean me creating my own workout, and is now called the Stratus for Yoga type of workout. And then I went into the product line. So yeah, that was, it wasn't a plan necessarily that I want to open a studio and have products, but I've always felt like you're best at what you do when you actually truly believe in it, you practice what you preach. And so yoga was such a huge part of my life, and it translated into a business. And so I'm blessed to see that it's translated so well.
But break it down for me, a dummy or a redneck like me, when you start talking about the different disciplines of yoga, and I live here in Los Angeles, so I pass by these studios all the time. I see the Bikram, this, that, the whatever. And then the Stratosphere brand. What did you do different? Did you incorporate different elements to, or pattern different movements or different, I don't know.
That's exactly what I did. I was doing yoga for a couple years, and I actually started getting a little stringy looking. Like, I was kind of known, I'm not saying that you might have noticed or not, but I was known for having a booty at some point.
I never noticed that the whole time I know you. I'll put my hand on a Bible.
Throwing it out there. I mean, you may have noticed.
I never noticed.
Okay. I'm just,
So go ahead. Tell me about the yoga booty.
So I was known for the booty, and then I was doing strict yoga straight up, and I lost my booty, and it was a little bit sad. And I'm sure many men around the world were sad as well. I got a little stringy and sad moment in history.
What was that for? Was that a muscle mass thing? I mean, was just the yoga stuff more stretching and core work? So what did you do to get the booty back?
Well, I started incorporating squats, and I started going back to like the old school stuff, like squats, push-ups, lunges, your basic calisthenic stuff. And I actually got a role. It was my first movie role. It was called Bounty Hunters. And so they wanted me to be this bounty hunter, and I'm this tough, kick-ass chick. And he wrote the script with me in mind. So when I read the script, the reason I took this movie, I read the script and I was like, oh, that is totally Trish Stratus. I mean, when people said, wow, you did so well in your first acting gig, I'm like, yeah, I was playing me. So it wasn't a huge stretch. But, she was this kick-ass chick, and I was this stringy yoga chick at the time. So I was like, wow, I got to start training. And so I went back into the dojo, and I started training, like, I was learning Krav Maga for this, like, cause that's my character, that's her style. So I was learning this, and my body was taking a beating, and I was like, whoa, I can't do this like I used to with this skinny body. So I just started, building mass again and doing a lot of calisthenics, but also just a lot of squats and basic stuff, your old school biceps, and just, started going back into the training split. But then I was trying to kind of, I didn't want to abandon my yoga, so I created this thing where I thought, well, what if I take a yoga move, but then I find a strength training move to pair with it. So like every yoga move I have in my sequence, I've paired it with biceps. And so I kind of broke it down like a traditional bodybuilding style, where you have different sections. You work your chest and your back, you do your biceps, your triceps. So it's like you're broken down like you would like a workout schedule, but then it's all, it's incorporating the yoga. So it's it's geared for more of a conditioning tool, more for athletes. And at the same time, you get the gun show going and you get the yoga booty going. And I think that's a plus. So
you was the bounty hunter with a booty.
That was me. That's right.
Hey, let's talk about a little bit of acting real quick before we wrap this thing up and go home, as they would say in the business. You did Bounty Hunter. You had a lot of fun doing that. What's next on the acting horizon for you? Are you bitten by the acting bug?
Yeah, I think I had just finished the movie when we did Tough Enough, and I was like saying, oh, I definitely, because I never really thought, I mean, I don't know, you probably got it too, but it was like the natural question when you retired. It was kind of like, are you going to become an actor now? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, yeah, we'll see. It was nothing I was actively pursuing, and I always said, if a good script comes my way and it's something that grabs me, sure, I'll definitely hop on board. And so that's what happened with Bounty Hunters. But when I had I came on as an executive producer because I wanted to maintain the integrity of the fight scenes. I wanted to make sure that, I know it's like, it goes back to the producer in me, but I wanted to make sure the stories were being told right. Maintaining that, like, each of the characters played their own, had their own style in there, and like that guy wouldn't do that. My character wouldn't do that, that line. And so, yeah, I loved it. I loved the experience working with the people. It was a small Canadian independent film, so it was like, like close-knit family, just like we had at Tough Enough, where everyone knew each other, and you know how it is. You get on the set, and it's just this family for a few months. So I loved it. It was a great experience. And I think maybe you and me should be starring in an action flick soon. I think that's the next step.
You and I in a action flick. You bring the booty. Yep. I'll bring the can of whoop ass.
That might
be a hell of a 1-2 punch here.
Title.
Yeah, we'll work that whole shenanigan into the title. Hey, but okay, you know what? Let's think about doing something like that. But before we leave, I want to talk to you a little bit more. You've got TrishStratus.com. You've got all your stuff on there, your yoga programs. Is there pictures of the facility there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the yoga studio is stratusforyoga.com if you want to see it.
Stratusforyoga.com. Got you.
Yep. And if you want to come up to Toronto and do yoga with me, you can come up to the studio, and there's, it's a really nice facility. But in the meantime, if you would like, you talked about it sweeping the nation in Canada, but I guess it was about a couple years ago, I released it to the States, and now it's worldwide. So we ship worldwide, and so you can get all the products there. And actually, WWE Shop now carries my product as well. So they have my kits, they have the DVDs, they got these invention called the Fit Gloves, which I think I made you wear them a couple times. Those gloves that had the 1 pound grip on them. Remember we did a little yoga, Steve? A little bit?
Very little. Hey, you got any more fitness DVDs coming up? I know you got a couple of fitness DVDs, and you announced that you were pregnant sometime back. Didn't you make that announcement when you were at the Hall of Fame?
I sure did. I had to find some recovery out of that heel booing that was happening at Madison Square Garden.
So when's your next fitness DVD project?
Well, I would say it would probably be after I pop out the baby. So the baby is due in September, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I'm just sitting here brewing a baby. And, baby.
Are you ready to be a mother?
And then, yeah, I am. I am ready. It was one of those things where, listen, I've heard you're never ready. It's going to be one of these new challenges that, you're going to embrace, and it's something where I've never experienced before. But I'm ready. You know how just like with my retirement, I was just like, there's just something, you feel it. You're in that spot in life. You're like, I'm ready for this. So we're really excited, and I'm excited about this next chapter.
Did you already go get a crib and paint the room, and you're thinking about names? Are you that far along yet?
I am 6 months already, so I'm like really far along, and I should be doing that stuff. I haven't yet, but I think now, you go into your third trimester, and I think that's the time you start kind of getting into that nesting stage. So I have a little of an interior design thing that I like to do, so that's my next step.
Are you good at that? Your husband builds. Are you a good interior decorator?
Well, yeah, I've been really lucky that we've built a number of homes, and I usually end up, he kind of puts up the walls and I decorate them. So I do the interior most of the time, and I love it. It's like a sort of a hobby of mine, interior design. So I enjoy it, and I can't wait to make a little nursery.
Hey, check this out. As a wife and fix to be a mother, do you cook? Can you cook?
I always want to say it as I don't necessarily cook, but I prepare meals. Does that make sense?
I guess.
Cooking to me...
Is that a cop-out because you can't cook?
I can cook stuff, but
Trish, I got you,
you
didn't
would not
I?
marry me. You would not marry me for my cooking.
I got you.
Put it that way.
I got you. Oh, yeah.
But I can make you. I can feed you. I can feed you, though.
Oh, my. Yeah, I'm kind of spoiled. My wife is like just a total chef. Great. And it's her passion. It's one of her favorite things to do. So I got lucky because one of my passions, one of my favorite things to do is eat and eat good stuff. So I got lucky. You got lucky. You're doing great. You got a young one on the way. You're happily married. You're inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame recently, 2013. You had a wonderful career. You've got the brand of Stratosphere Yoga going strong. Everything's going good for you. You can follow Trish at TrishStratus.com. You can check her out on her website, TrishStratus.com. Trish, break down that other address for the yoga place.
StratusforYoga.com.
StratusforYoga.com. I did not have that one, and for that I apologize. Trish, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I always enjoy seeing you in person and shooting the breeze with you because you're so funny and classy. I want to thank you for joining Mo and me here in the studio and bringing a little class, pizzazz, and dignity to the Steve Austin Show.
Well, thank you for sharing some bullshit and some hogwash, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Nothing like a gal who'll drop a couple four-letter words on her way out.
This has been a PodcastOne production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Eagles Hall of Fame quarterback Ron Jaworski, and I am so excited to bring you the hottest new podcast for the NFL and gaming. Welcome to Jaws Picks, featuring me, Ron Jaworski, and some of the most famous names in sports, music, and entertainment, as I give you my expert analysis and predictions of each and every NFL game. So far this season, my predictions are over 55% correct against the spread. That's a pretty good number, folks. And over 67% picking winners straight up. You do not want to miss out on this podcast. Every week, I will tell you who, how, and why each NFL game will be decided. Take the guesswork and stress out of gaming and subscribe to Jaws Picks wherever you get your podcast. That's Jaws Picks wherever you get your podcast. Stay safe, take care, and let's make some beer money.
Look out! Join me every week for the Michael Irvin Podcast. The Michael Irvin Podcast, the MIP.
Now the MIP exists. The MIP.
Okay, I got to make sure you got something to show.
What? Where's Michael? He's holding out. What do you mean he's holding out?
Fine. Hey, it's the Playmaker. I ain't available right now. I said the Playmaker's not available for you.
I will give you my Playmaker of the Week. Take the spotlight sometimes off of all these quarterbacks and put the spotlight on some of those guys that make the quarterbacks. T-I-R-E-D, put it together. T-I-R-E-D. I get tired. That's the love.
That's my girl, but I love right there,
What's
man.
that?
Yeah.
Download new episodes of the MIP, the Michael Irvin Podcast, every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne, and Spotify.
That's the Michael Irvin Podcast. I am the Playmaker, Michael Irvin.